Happy Friday. Wearing red for my veterans and law enforcement and their families. You guys mean the world to me, and I think y'all know it. Some takeaways from my week. Things that I have discussed with families. Not overly pretty. The first is I have a family who, during the night, lost someone. And death is part of life, we know that, but it doesn't make it any easier. And earlier, those that follow me on social media will know I posted, don't take anyone or anything for granted. Take every opportunity to tell someone you love them, you appreciate them, how much they mean to you. Show them by how you live your life that they're important to you. If that means going into therapy, going into counseling, going into rehab, do it. Don't take your child for granted. Don't take your parents for granted. Don't take your job for granted. Nothing is a given. And it's too many times, it comes down to those final hours, those final days, and it's just, man, I messed up. And I hear that a lot. And yeah, a lot of times they really messed up. A lot of times they want to reach out to family members or friends or whomever and apologize and try and just get it off their chest before they die. And the person won't take their call. They're done with them. And that's sad. That's really, really sad. But I do see that frequently. Don't take anything or anyone for granted. Make amends. It's okay to say, I messed up, I made a mistake, I'm sorry. And it's okay to forgive someone. Don't forget what they did to you, but it's okay to forgive. There's a difference between forgiving and forgetting. But please, please, don't take anybody for granted. Don't take another day for granted. Another sunrise, another sunset. It's all important, okay? Sorry, I'm puffy. So, in my practice, I know people who try to put up the facade of professionalism and being very clinical. That's to protect your heart. Been there. When I worked in surgical intensive care, I got like that. I wouldn't say I was jaded, but you just have to get kind of callous a lot of times because it'll rip your heart out. Things you're going to see will just kill you. And now, in my practice, I decided a long time ago, I am going to tear the wall down. And if my client is crying and I cry with them, there's nothing wrong with that. If I laugh with them, I cry with them, I might yell at them. I'm just me, and it works out for the best. It works out in my world. It has been a long night, and there have been a lot of tears. So you can see the puffies. Sorry, it happens. Second thing I want to talk about, this is really bad. Kids. Well, adults too. Kids get mad. They lose their temper. They will storm out of a house. They will slam a door till it's going to fall off its hinges because they're mad. Maybe they just don't have the words to express what they're feeling. All they have are the emotions, the raw emotions that come out as anger and frustration. Okay. They storm out. They're mad. You're having an argument and they storm out that door. Okay. And they go to their friends. That's not good because their friends are probably just as... I don't want to be mean. I don't, but I am going to be honest. Their friends are probably just about as dumb as they are in this situation. And they're going to give them very bad advice. And you give the child a chance to cool down. And then they're going to realize, okay, I overreacted. It's not half as bad as what I thought it was. Maybe mom and dad were kind of right. Okay, they were totally right. And now I feel stupid. Or, they told me not to get online. And I did. And I met somebody. I thought they were this person. They're not this person. They're totally somebody else. I'm in trouble. I'm going to, it's hard for a kid. It's hard for a lot of people to say, I messed up. I made a mistake. What do I do? Depending on the family dynamics. This is where it gets interesting. So depending on the family dynamic, a child or the other person will call the family or whomever and say, I really messed up. And they will say, hey, come on, come back here. Let's sit down. Let's talk. It's okay. Other families, it's not that way. Other families, it's you walked out that door, you're not coming back. Or if the kid's afraid if they come back, they're going to be beat within an inch of their life. It happens. I see it. So the most important thing is dialogue. Keep the line of communication open. Never tell your child you can't come home. Never, ever, ever tell your child that. Don't. A child will make a stupid mistake. A lot of people will make a stupid mistake and then realize it, and they're afraid to admit they made a mistake. Their friends are telling them, don't you dare apologize. You can't let your parents treat you like that. You're a grown man, woman, whatever. They're 13, they're 14. Honey, they are far from grown. But they have their friends in their ear, and we all know I'm right because we've all been there. We remember our friends. And it's a very difficult situation. They may listen to their friend, and their friend may have a very toxic home life. So this isn't exactly good, good wisdom that they're drawing from. Okay. If possible, reach out to a minister, a counselor, a therapist, somebody that you know that the child will trust. And even if it's through a conference call, a Zoom call, have a mediation, just so everybody can be heard. Okay? Just so that parent can look at that child and say, I want you to come home. I'm sorry the fight got out of control. I'm sorry I made you mad. I'm sorry I said whatever. Parents should apologize if you are out of line. If you scream, if you yell, God forbid you raise your hand and strike your child. There is no reason for violence. There is no reason for violence. It's okay to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Let your child know you're human. They should have learned that years ago. Mom and dads are not superheroes. When your child is on this call and they say, yeah, I might have overreacted. Okay, we know you did overreact. So what was the problem? What really happened? And as they're telling you this, as they're saying, this happened at school, or my friend said this, or whatever it is, and they said, and then you said da-da-da-da-da-da-da, let them finish their sentence and say, I'm sorry, I made you feel unsafe. I'm sorry, I made you feel like you couldn't come to me, like I wouldn't listen to you. Because as a parent, your job, once you have that child is your priority. Your job is to, at all times, make that child feel safe. Let them know their opinion counts. Their feelings count. Their emotions count. They're valid. I can't tell you how to feel. You can't tell your child how to feel. If they're upset, they have every right to be upset. Absolutely. And tell them that. I'm sorry this happened. I'm sorry this happened with your friend or with a test or whatever. And I am so sorry you're feeling this way. How can I help? Don't start in with, well, you should have studied harder. I told you not to hang out with him. I told you not to go online. I told you this person wasn't any good. Don't. They already know that. They know that. They don't need you rubbing their nose in it. Support them. Encourage them. Let them feel safe with you. Had they felt safe, they wouldn't have stormed out of the house. So let's, all parties are to blame in this one. The child for losing their temper, not expressing themselves appropriately. Maybe they got a little loud, belligerent. There's no need for that. Keep it calm. Keep the dialogue flowing and let your child feel safe. And the kids have to be able to trust the parent. They have to be able to know that they can come to you with anything and that you're not going to lose your cool. That you're going to sit there stone-faced and listen to everything they're saying and say, okay, process it for a second. Okay, I understand this is what's going on. You did da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And now this is where we are today. process it, and then together work through it. Together. They're a child. They need you. They are not grown up. Just because they're 13, 14, 17, they're not an adult. The brain does not mature till you're in your 20s. For some people, it's a little longer. But that is very important. Please keep the dialogue open. Please. Let your kids know parents make mistakes. You're not superheroes. And kids, it's okay to go to mom and dad and say, I messed up. I really messed up this time. I need your help. And the best thing you can do is give them a hug. Hold them just as tight as you can and say, it's going to be okay. I'm here for you. Think of when you were at your absolute lowest, when maybe you remember when you were in their position and you did something stupid. I don't know how your parents responded. Did they just give you a big hug and say, hey, it's okay. It's okay. We're going to get through this. No matter how bad it is, I'm still your mom or dad. I'm still going to love you. You made a stupid mistake. We both know that. But it doesn't change the fact that you're my kiddo and I love you. That will mean so much to them. That will just mean the world to them. That will be their anchor. Okay? Lastly, when dealing with addicts, any addiction, drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, whatever it is, you need to understand addicts lie. Some lie well, some don't. They are manipulative. When they know they have messed up big time, they will turn on the tears like a faucet, just like Niagara Falls, and they will cry, and I'm sorry, and I'm worthless. They are manipulating you. Do not enable them. Don't. An addict will not hesitate to put their addiction above their child, their job, paying the rent, paying the mortgage, because their addiction is all that matters. I'm not saying they don't love their child. They just love the addiction more. They may love their job, but they love the addiction more. They may love you, but they may love the addiction more. Do not enable them. Do not sit there and listen to them cry and moan and weep and I'm sorry, it'll never happen again, because it's going to happen again. We know that. They're an addict. Do not enable that behavior. If it's an employee of yours, tell them it's time to go to rehab. You don't have a choice. It's either rehab or your job. I have seen that happen in companies, and it has straightened some people out. They want the job that bad, and it means so much to them to know their employer values them enough to urge them into rehab and know when they come out they have a job. That's big. That is big. If it is your spouse, that's hard. That is difficult. But you have to take a hard line with this. They cannot put their addiction above you, above your kids, above their responsibilities. They have to get help. And tell them, it's time. You have to go. You have to get help. And if you're going to go get help, the family's going to go get help, because an addiction isn't just the problem of the addict. It's the problem of the family. Everybody in that family is dealing with the addiction. It might not be their addiction, but you're all dealing with it. So let's get help for everybody. AA has programs, and so does NA for families. And I strongly urge everybody, if you're dealing with an addict, get the whole family into counseling. That's just a have to, a must, because it affects everybody. If it's your child, what are you going to do? That's your baby. You love this person. You brought them into the world. And now they're throwing their life away on drugs. Do not throw them out of the house. Don't abandon them. But do take a strong line and say, you are going into therapy. You are going into a 90-day rehab. You know, move them. If they're in college, pull them out of whatever college. I don't care if they lose their scholarship. Their life is more important than a scholarship. Pull them out of college, put them in rehab. They can go into a different college. They might have to go into a community college, but who cares? They'll get an education. The most important thing is it will save their life. That's the goal, is saving their life. They need to understand that. That while they're willing to put the addiction above everything else, you're not. Because you're the parent. And you're going to do this. You're going to save your kid's life. Do not abandon them. Do not throw them out of the house. Do not tell them you're not taking their calls. Don't turn your back on them. Friends. When it's a friend and they come to you, if you know they have an addiction, I mean, if it's an obvious, they have an alcohol problem, gambling, whatever, you can take a much firmer approach and say, look, you've got to get help. You are throwing your entire life away. You're choosing your addiction over your child. That's wrong. That is totally wrong. If they have a child and they don't have anybody else in their family or the other people are enabling them, the welfare of that child has to come first. If you are working in a doctor's office, if you're working at a school, if you're working at a hospital, if you're working at a church, and you say you really care about this person, oh, they're so sweet, we don't want anything to happen to them, then get them the help they need. Do not enable them. If that means calling family services, CPS, DFS, whatever you call it in your area, the goal is to protect the child, not the parent. And I know CPS sucks. There are some horrible, horrible foster families out there. However, there are some amazing ones as well. Maybe there's a family member you can reach out to and say, hey, maybe you need to step in, take custody of this child for a little while the parent gets some help. But the parent will lie to you. They will tell you they're getting the help, that they're going into rehab when they're not. If it's your friend and they are doing this, they could be taking advantage of you. I'm choosing my words very carefully here. They could be just manipulating you, taking advantage of you, knowing that you will listen to them. Maybe they're wanting money from you. Maybe they're wanting you to pay their rent. Maybe they're wanting you to watch their child. Get the child safe. That's the top priority. Get that child safe. And then try and get that parent some help. There may come a time you have to cut ties and just say, I can't do this. I can't do this. Because they're not willing to get the help they need. Let their family deal with it. I know, and it's hard for me because I get very invested in clients. I can't save everybody. I cannot help someone who does not want to help themselves. And they will lie and they will tell you, but I want to get better. Well, then go into rehab and do the program. Do the work. Go to the meetings. Don't go to the meetings and then go get drunk. Don't go to the meetings and then go get high with your sponsor. Don't call me drunk. Don't call me high. Don't call me because you just spent $500 on an online whatever it is. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. And I will end a friendship over that. I am just to that point with people. If you're not willing to help yourself, I'm not going to be there. And I know that's really going to make some people mad, but you have to, even with friendship, you have to love yourself enough to know when somebody is toxic. You don't need a toxic friend. You can guide them toward help. You can go so far as to even look up phone numbers for them and make an appointment for them, but it's up to them to keep it. It's up to them to do the work. So if I offended somebody, if I made somebody mad through all of this, I'm sorry. I'm just speaking from my heart. Lastly, the importance of self-care. It has been one hell of a week for me. It has been tough. And I got a very interesting note the other day from somebody. And they know me I've known them forever and a day. And they sent me a note on a DM on social media. And I post a lot of heavy stuff about child abuse, addiction, narcissists, how to leave an abusive relationship, how to deal with chronic pain, how to deal with terminal illness. And then 5 minutes later, I may post something with, 2 talking cats, or something about horses, or something just totally goofy, or music, because I love music. And they said, what's with all of this? It's called balance. I have to have balance in my life, and I am trying to show by example. This is how you can do just self-care throughout the day. A lot of us, people working in mental health, healthcare, law enforcement, child rescue, social workers, the list goes on and on. We are surrounded with toxic stuff all day long. Everything from families who are divorcing, parents manipulating each other, triangulating the child. It's just not good. It is just not good. So you need to balance that with something that makes your heart smile. Surround yourself with people and things that make your heart smile. Could be flowers, could be music, could be, talking cat videos. It doesn't matter. You have to decompress. You have to take a break, step away, and laugh. Enjoy nature. Bring that balance back. I do not want the negativity to consume you, and it will. I know a lot of people who are involved in a lot of causes through their job and just through, I don't want to say a hobby, but through their passions, and they lose themselves to the passion, and they forget about the rest of the world. They get so consumed with being a right fighter at that point, they don't care about anything else. I never want to ever get that way. So I try to keep a healthy balance of just, I don't know, goofy, maybe? I don't like to think I'm goofy. I don't know. I'll have to ask a couple of my really good friends, do you think I'm kind of goofy? But there are things that just crack me up and make me laugh and make me smile. And I need that around me. That will keep me grounded. I meditate, I pray, I do things that make my heart smile so that I can go back in and help people fight their battles. So, the takeaways from my week. Have a good weekend. Please practice self-care and let people know that you love them. Please.